Good evening and welcome to another episode of your favorite Benfica podcast, of course, episode 199 of Cantinho Benfiquista podcast. Welcome back to Monaco. Today, we will look back at Benfica's historic win tonight in Monaco, marking the fourth away victory in one single Champions League campaign, which we've never done before, which is interesting. We'll also talk about the unfortunate injuries within a span of 2 minutes at the weekend and what impact that has to the team and the rest of the season. And we'll look ahead to the upcoming fixtures. We got a tricky fixture this weekend in the Azores against Santa Clara. We've got a second leg next week against Monaco in a second leg that we should have been able to maybe have a cakewalk. But unfortunately, that won't be the case. And much more. So, as always, if you're tuning in live, leave us a like on whatever platform you're watching, YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch. And as always, if you could take 5 seconds of your day, leave us a like, follow, subscribe, share, all of those fun things. It doesn't cost you anything, and it takes just a few seconds. And para a malta que esteja a ver em português, esteja à vontade de participar aqui nesta nossa conversa. Todos falamos e percebemos português, por isso podem deixar os vossos comentários e nós iremos falar sobre eles. And I forgot to say, as always, I'm your host, Mike. I'm joined today by Bill and Kenny. Just the three of us, at least that I'm aware of, unless somebody jumps in and surprises us. I'll go left to right. Bill, how are you?
Doing good. Busy couple weeks. It's good to be back.
Yep, good to have you back. And Kenny, repping the swagger. How you doing?
That's right. Yeah, good, man. Good day today. Let's just put it that way. Good day today.
It was a good day. Let's see the comments. Have a nice one, guys. We won today. Big hug. Give Florentino a medal. Fábio, abraço para ti. Fábio vai dormir já à tarde. Cesar da Silva, how are you, Cesar? Oh, of course, we got a surprise. Oscar made it back in time. Hold on, let me jump in here. Oscar, how are you? Traffic wasn't too
hey
bad.
Guys.
I told you.
We just made it.
I told you you'd show up, Bill.
Yeah, just the defender's way.
Let's jump into the topics here. So we've got Monaco 0, Benfica 1, an away day that we already saw earlier this season. Different type of match. This one wasn't in the league format. This is naturally a knockout first leg. Always a different approach in most cases, especially the first match being away. Benfica started with Trubin in goal, Tomás Araújo on the right, Antonio Silva, Otamendi, and Carreras in the back line, Aušnestino Kokshu in the middle, Sheldrup Aktürkoğlu on the wings, and the Greek freak himself up top. Bill, I'll start with you. Any surprises from the starting 11? Obviously, we had Ba, who's been injured, but in recent weeks, he's not necessarily been an automatic starter. So I think the Tomás Araújo one maybe isn't a surprise, but any other surprises on this starting 11 that jump out to you?
No, I think given the injuries to Ba and Manu, right, those are obvious ones that were going to be changes. And then the only other one was Di Maria, but I mean, the way it turned out, clearly he wasn't fully fit yet, I guess. But
I will say before you go further on that, I will say that I did hear on the Portuguese news after the match that a specific doctor that Di Maria had been working with after the match against, was it Stadilla? That she stated that he had no lingering injury. He was fully recovered. So I know I was also of the opinion that maybe he wasn't ready. I don't know if this is just a precaution.
Something else.
They did say he walked. When he left the stadium, he wasn't limping. He didn't look like he was in discomfort. He didn't look like he was in pain. Let's hope that it's nothing serious, because the way these injuries are going, we're going to need some bodies for the rest of the season. But I just wanted to add that before you continue down your path.
Yeah. I mean, outside that was the only one that maybe stood out, but I think it was the smart move not to start him, right? Like, he's coming off of an injury, missed a few matches. I think it was smart to leave him out and give him a late cameo. It just happened to go south a bit with his muscle injury. It literally looked like he was by himself, but I didn't see any
as soon as he
contact in it.
stepped, similar to what happened against
Yeah.
Villa.
Yeah. So I mean, with the lineup, I didn't. No shockers, no surprises to me. I think that was pretty straightforward, given again our injuries and available players.
And what were your thoughts on the game?
I thought we started well. I think the first 5-10 minutes we looked on the front foot, and then Monaco grew into the game, and I think that the remaining 30-35 minutes of that first half we were kind of on the back foot. They didn't create too much. I mean, they had a few shots. I know. I think it was in the first half. Duderbin had that one nice save. But outside of that, I don't think they really created much. And even that save, like it looked like a nice save, but again, I think it was more of one of those like TV style saves. It looked a little harder than it actually was.
It looked pretty hard. I mean, I don't think, given his height, he grabs
nice
it.
save.
I don't know if
it was a hard save.
Yeah, I don't think if he's that tall, I don't know if he gets there. He got that with the tips of his finger.
Yeah,
it was a good save.
Yeah, I don't think it was a TV picture, anyways.
I thought it was, but it's okay. But outside of that, Monaco didn't really create much. They didn't. They were in control of the game, but it wasn't dangerous play. I didn't like how we kind of sat back. I know we're away, but it is the knockout stages. It is against a team that we should beat. And then I think the second half, the game opened up a bit more, and we easily should have walked away with probably 2-3 goals instead of just the 1-0 result. I think going forward, we had a lot of opportunities, wasteful opportunities, some sloppy passing, but I think all in all, walked away with the deserved victory. It probably should have been more than the 1 goal, but it leaves us in a good spot going into the second leg at home.
Good point. Catarina Silva says, and welcome, Catarina. She's a follower of ours on the various platforms. She says, Di Maria posted something on Instagram. Doesn't look like something small. I just went and pulled it up. He wrote it in Spanish, but I'll read it in English as I read and translate. So he said, happy for the victory. Congratulations to the team for these first 90 minutes. There are 90 minutes remaining for us to get to our objective. For me, it's just kind of a blip in my life, another moment in my career. I have to look forward, be strong, and everything's going to be much easier. This is easy because I have 3 strong women at home, et cetera, and that I'm going to return stronger. So I guess depending on how you read into that, could be something more prolonged.
Sounds it.
It
to me.
sounds
Yeah,
it. Agreed.
It doesn't sound like a little tweak that you're gonna come back from.
And it looked like
quick.
he grabbed the same leg that he did against Amadora. So I'm not surprised. But again,
It didn't look like much either.
It didn't. I mean, but again, I mean, we've all been there with hamstrings and quad muscles, right? Like when you feel like it feels fine and then you do something. And not to mention, I felt like when he came in, he almost looked like he wasn't playing at 100%. Maybe he was reluctant to maybe make that extra stretch or make that extra movement and to tweak it. And then, of course, the one time that he actually goes one-on-one and actually puts it in the second gear, he pulls up short, unfortunately. But I'm sure we'll find out in the coming hours if it's something so long. Oscar, do you agree with Bill's analysis on the game? I know that you were on the road. And then did anything in the starting 11 surprise you?
No, the starting 11 is straightforward. I think the only thing that was up in the air probably a Barreto and Florentino, but away game in a Champions League, I think Florentino was the right choice, and I was expecting Florentino to start. So nothing surprises me about that, especially with Bobby, and now we expected Araujo to start on the right. Like I said, when you said the lineup before the game started, the only one I asked was Di Maria. Mike, is he hurt? But I knew he was coming back from an injury, so kind of reserve him a little bit made sense. And obviously, we should have reserved the whole game instead of only 67 minutes. But yeah, other than that, I think it was a straightforward lineup, and I agree with everything that was on the start of the game. And then regarding the game, I agree with Bill. The first half was kind of back and forth. I mean, we created some chances. I think the chance we created was with Carreras when he shot it right by the post.
Yep.
They created that chance with Wien had a beautiful save. And then it was like almost chance wise a 50-50. They had more ball. Then second half after we scored the goal and they got the red card, it was all us. And I don't think I saw a chance for them second half. So we could have put the game away with, especially with Pavlidis when he and the ball crossed in the middle and he was just inside the 6 and he shot it right at the goalie. I mean, we came away today, but we didn't. But the only good thing is we won, and I was before the game. I expected I was calling for a tie, and I would have signed under a tie. So to me, this is bonus. We won away.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Kenny, I don't know if you had any thoughts on the starting 11, and then from what you were able to see, did anything specifically stand out to you other than what Bill and Oscar?
No, these guys summed it up. I mean, the lineup straightforward, considering the players that are to our disposal, right? I mean, there wasn't really many changes you could have made. So I think pretty straightforward with the lineup. The game, again, these guys have hit it on all points. I despite the win, I was frustrated in that second half that we couldn't put it away and put 100%. More of a distance. It seems, I think Bill mentioned it, like we were comfortable with the 1-0. It didn't bite us in the ass this game, right? It didn't affect us, but we definitely took our foot off the pedal. We sat back. We waited around. It could have been a different story, and we would have been here complaining why would, up a man, how could we not have finished those chances? So I know it didn't hurt us, but it's still frustrating for me as a fan to when you need to, with conviction, like show a little more. And this year has been like an up and down type of season. Like you want to continue with that momentum. And I think it would have been more momentum going into the second leg, but a victory is a victory. I mean, I'm not going to sorrow about it. Right. So it's a good win. And now we get to come home and finish the job.
Yeah. I felt that
one thing that kind of like scares me is that especially this year in the Champions League is we're playing better away than we are at home, and we're getting better results away than we are at home. So we got to win away. Let's fucking not fuck it up at home. That's all I'm asking.
These guys, but they're missing like three starters, right? They had two guys.
Right
three starters too.
Yeah.
We're missing three starters too.
We're missing Tinu. Who else are we missing?
We're missing Bob. We're missing.
You're looking at the injuries.
I'm saying starters today.
Discretion's just
we're only
Tino,
missing one. Tino.
Yeah,
they're missing the right back, Zakaria,
Musrati,
and El Musrati.
Yeah.
What a dumb second yellow, huh?
Holy! What do you guys, before I give my thoughts on the game, what do you guys think of that sending off? Do you agree with it?
I think that's rough. That's rough.
If we were to give those yellows in Portugal every weekend, we'd have like nobody.
You're finishing with like 6 guys on the field.
Yeah, I don't know unless he said something. It didn't look like he said something.
The replay, it looked like he was just kept going like this.
Yeah. That's a brutal second yellow card to get sent off.
Tough way to go, man.
Yeah. The ref must have been in a bad mood or something.
I don't disagree with this comment either. That
Carreras
tackle from Carreras that was then led to the.
I don't think that's a. I mean, he ran into the back of him. He's going away from goal. I don't think it's a second yellow card.
Yeah, what would it? What
could
would
it
I don't think.
Did he not get a yellow?
Goal.
Carreras?
He had a yellow in the first
had a
half.
yellow.
When he
I'm
ran
saying
into
that
that
foul
guy in
could have.
midfield.
That would have been a second.
That could have.
That's what he was asking for. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't think it was. I mean, he's running away from goal. He's got his back. And he runs.
At first, I thought the yellow was for Carreras, and I'm like, oh fuck, we're fucked. And then all of a sudden, he aimed it right at fucking Maserati. I'm like, okay, that's there you go.
Ironically enough, the first time we played them, when the guy gets sent off, Carreras was involved with that play as well. And this time again, Carreras is involved in the play, and their guy gets sent off.
Are you guys surprised? Are you surprised that he didn't take Carreras off with the yellow? I mean, I guess there wasn't much of a risk in that second half after that, but
I mean, there's always a risk, right? You could tell that he pulled out a couple of times from some challenges.
That would have been a huge miss.
But then if you look at like the option,
who the hell would pay the new kid?
Dahl would have to go. I mean, he was warming up when he looked like he was injured.
Could you have thrown Auschwitz in that? Like he pushed
back?
Freddie went
and then who do you put at right back? I mean, you could have put Barreiro, but then you would have fucking mixed and matched so many pieces.
No, but why? Unless you just kept Arujo in there.
But he got hurt.
Arujo came off. He got hurt.
Oh, he got hurt. Okay, so I didn't catch that.
He pulled up with a muscle injury, so he came off.
So what my scare is, like, if we put this game away, we would have a chance to rest players next week against Monaco. We don't have the luxury anymore, and we have a lot of players fucking just going down, like very, very like one after the other. So I'm scared. I mean, our midfield is completely now. We let go of Rollheiser, and that's the position we need. Like that's our luck. Our luck is absolutely fucking shit.
I'm looking at the bench today. Just even today, like half of these guys are all kids, right? So
yeah, I mean, I think Felix was on the bench today. Leandro was on the bench.
Cristiani, Dahl, Felix, Santos, Gomes, and Bajrami.
Yeah, and André Gomes was on the bench, the goalie.
Yeah, so there was Samu's there, and so was
him on the bench.
Oh.
So we had two goalies on the bench.
It's showing two goalies on the bench. Yeah.
Yeah. So Leandro Santos is the right back. Nuno Felix, the midfielder. João, or no, that's not João. Hugo's his brother. He's from the B team. Dahl is the left back that can also play right back, and Bajrami is the center back that's been there most of the season. So, right, like we talk about, Lodge is a guy from the youth. Right, like if there's ever been an opportunity for him to throw in some of the guys from youth, this is it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
where's the next?
Like at some point coming up, you're gonna have to.
Is he going to be able to find that needle?
He got another Felix in the second stint.
Yeah, so let's see how that goes. I thought the game, like you guys said, I thought the first 5 to 10 minutes, I thought we started okay. I didn't think we were great, but I thought we were in control. We had ball. And then for like a 30-minute period, 30-minute period, I felt like Monaco had more ball. They had that shot that Trubin saved. They had a couple of moments down the left-hand side where they seemed to get in easily. Tomás Araújo seemed like a chicken with his head cut off down that right side. I don't know what was going on. I think Kerem not helping him as much defensively also may have played a role in that. But apart from that, them having ball, like Bill and Oscar said, they didn't create any flagrant opportunities. And then, we had that shot from Carreras. We had the 2v1 that Pavlidis blew the pass.
Yep.
Auschwitz,
and then Freddie blew it again.
And then he blew it the other way. Yeah, so it was a pass was short, and then it was short again. And Pavlidis looking at Auschwitz. Auschwitz must have been like, bro, you fucked up the first time. Why are you yelling at me?
Put it behind him.
Yeah, it was a disaster. So that could have been an opportunity that we took advantage of. And then the second half, I thought we came in better. And then the red card. First, the goal. I mean,
what a goal. Yeah, we haven't even talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, if there's been moments where Pavlidis has missed chances that were like, dude, you got to at least hit the net. And then almost on the end line, this guy manages to chip the keeper from that spot.
The foot, yeah, dude, fucking unbelievable.
You can't make this up. And then later in the game, he has that ball that I can't remember who plays it across to him.
Yeah,
and I think if it doesn't hit the defender, I think it goes wide.
Yeah,
like I don't even think it's going on target when it hits the defender. And he ends up getting a corner out of it, right? So it's just like, and then he's unlucky on the ball that Sheldrew plays across. I think it's Sheldrew that plays across.
And he hits the goalie.
And he hits the goalie, right? He does everything right? You just got to get that on target. The goalie just happened to be in the right spot and he hits the keeper. But I felt like he did everything right in that moment. But I mean, that goal is just, and I feel like that goal, right? We talked about this a lot through the course of the season of like, and I said it myself of, where like I feel like he's just lacking that confidence that a striker needs, right? And like for me, the goal he scores today is so much of that confidence, right? Like if he doesn't have confidence, he probably doesn't try that, right?
Mhm.
And like the confidence of the goals he's been scoring in the last couple of games or last handful of games gives him the ability to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna pull this off. And like he pulled it off. And it ended up giving us the win. But man, Bruno Lage said in his press conference before the match that Benfica lacks that killer instinct to put games away. And I think once again today, we saw that lack of killer instinct. I mean, we had chance after chance today in that second half to just bury this game. And we hit everything but the back of the net. Like Oscar said, this was an opportunity for us to walk into the second leg and not have the pressure and feel like, okay, unless there's an absolute implosion here, we're into the next round. And we leave the door open, right? Despite the second half that we had, we leave the door open, and it's a bit frustrating. And it almost feels like, yes, we won, and it's a big win because let's face it, Monaco's value of their squad is almost 100 mil or about 65 mil higher than Benfica's. And most people might not even realize that. Like Monaco's got a decent team. So, I mean, going away, not just once, we've gone there now twice and come away with the win. And so I think we should be proud of that. I feel like in some cases it feels like people aren't as euphoric about the win because of the opportunities that we missed. But nonetheless, right, like you said, Kenny, a win's a win, especially in the Champions League. We've achieved 4 away wins in the same campaign of the Champions League for the first time ever, which makes you think like we've never won 4 away games in the same Champions League campaign away from home. And then when you look at our home games, like Oscar said, we've only won one. No, we didn't win any. Oh, we won one. Atletico, right? And then we tied Bologna. We lost to Barcelona. We lost to Feyenoord, right? So like, if we were even somewhat decent at home, like where we would be in this Champions League.
It's very mental. It just seems like
but Kenny, I wanted to throw this at you. You've I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you were a critic of the striker of Pavlidis and his lack of goals. Ronaldo's famous quote many years ago about the ketchup, and once the ketchup lid comes off and it starts pouring, right, it just keeps coming out. And it's funny, the Sport TV announcer asked him about that today, and Pavlidis like, I don't want to talk about ketchup. It was really awkward, but I mean, he's got 6 goals in this Champions League campaign with 2 assists. In the season, he's got 15 goals, 8 assists across all competitions, and most of those have come in the last 7 games. How do you see this progression of his? Are you seeing a little bit more from him? Are you still not convinced? Do you think it's just a moment?
No, I think he's definitely come on. I mean, you can't deny, what was it, 8 goals in the last 6 games or something like that, or 6 goals in the last 8. I think that. Yeah.
I'll count them up right now, but
I thought I heard in the.
He's got 2. He's got 2 against Moreirense. He's got 1 against Strela. He had
1 today and 3 against Barcelona,
and then a hat trick against Barca.
7 against Barcelona. He had 1 against Juventus.
Yeah,
so he's got 8 goals in the last 7 starts.
Yeah, so he's definitely come on, and showing that he can pull the trigger and get the job done. And I think it just goes to show, like, I think we do need to be more patient with forwards. Some of the other guys previously, I don't think they've been given that same opportunity. I mean, Pavlidis has really been given the opportunity and consistently given the opportunity to find his rhythm, and he finally did, right? And so some of the other busts, whether you like them as a player or not, I think, if we just give these guys a chance and stay consistent with them, eventually they pop. Now, Pavlidis definitely has more, outside of just scoring goals. He does a lot for the team, And yeah, I think it's definitely working out right now. So all the power to him. Just keep it going.
I wanted to touch on, and I'll throw this one to Oscar because Jay's not here, so Oscar will take his place in terms of this comment. So Tinu had he won 8 duels, won the possession back 8 times, 5 interceptions, 4 tackles, 1 2 aerial duels. He had a 1-on-1 that he beat an opposing player in the second half, which I was quite impressed by. He had shifty feet and went by him and then played it wide. He only played 67 minutes, but he's made the most interceptions of any player in the Champions League this season, 21, and there's no player that's made more tackles than him in this Champions League campaign. He's made 32. I will say, naturally, anyone that listens and watches, I'm a critic of Tinu, not because of his defensive capabilities. I've said that previous podcasts. I think defensively he's like no other that we have, right? He's capable of breaking up play. For me, my frustration with him is more the passing, which we got into when we talked about Manu and his arrival at the club. But I have no issues with putting my hand up and saying, right, like I thought he had another good game. I'd say there was 2 mistakes that he made, in my opinion. The first one in the first half where he makes a stupid tackle just outside of our box, and he gives away a free kick that he didn't need to. And then in the second half, he took too long to make a pass.
But we covered it.
And then he got it back. Yes, he got it back at the edge of the box. And then he ended up getting a yellow after the play stopped because of the challenge that he ended up making because of the delay of the pass. But apart from that, I thought he had a really good game. He had a couple of nice balls out wide, long, 30-yard balls out wide. So again, like I'm seeing improvement. But what do you make of this, Oscar? Right, like we talked about last podcast, and I can't remember if you were on or not. I think you were, where Tinu is Tinu, right? And this is who he is. This is who he's been, and that's what he's going to continue to be. But I would say, within the last month, my opinion, I feel like I've seen slight improvements from him overall. Do you feel the same, or do you still feel like it's just the same Tino?
No, I see it. I think he's been working on a lot of things that he was lacking. I mean, I can blame how do you is it my finger pointing right at him, or is it just me?
When picking his nose,
all right.
You're good.
So all right, so we get it clear. So I can blame this guy for some of the things he's been improving on. But I think today, again, like it was against Juventus, I think Tino was the player of the match, in my opinion. I think he as a whole, he had a awesome performance. Pavlidis had the goal. I get it, and he deserves a lot of credit. Like Kenny said, like he's come through and he's been stepping up and scoring goals, basically putting the goals to the work that he's been doing for the team. But Tino, in the last few matches, especially away in Champions League, has been our best player, and we have to give him props. Like his work ethic is like no other. I think that the defense with him on the field feels safer because he's that guy. It's like almost like an octopus. He has like 20 legs. For some reason he's everywhere in front of those 4 guys, and he recovers a lot of balls. Your stats speak for themselves. 32 tackles and best in the Champions League. So we can. And his position is a defensive midfielder, right? So he's not attacking midfield. He's a defensive midfielder for his position and what he's been doing. I think he's like no other. I think he's really stepping up this year and to be our starter.
And I think, right, the games that you pointed out, right, Juventus away, and a few others, I think there's certain, and we've talked about this before, I think there's certain contexts of games that make more sense for him, right? A game like this makes more sense for him. A game against Juventus away makes more sense for him, right? Because you're going to be able to pull more out of his characteristics and make more of that than a game at home against Moreirense, right? A game at home against Estrela da Amadora, right? Like those are games that he's not going to have that many defensive responsibilities in our own half.
Yeah, right. And it goes to say, like, we were expecting to have less ball against Juventus away, right? So when the Juventus has more ball than we do, we expect Tino to play because he's going to be the guy to steal that ball back, right? First half against Monaco today, Monaco had more possession. That's why Tino was stood out on the first half. Yeah. And this is where I give credit to this guy right here, because once we went up a guy, and we could attack going forward. What did he do? He took out Tino Barreto in, because
I
now
also think that was a precaution too.
Well,
because he was
on
but
the
I
team.
think
No, but I agree. I thought his substitution was good there.
But I think it goes to say, like, okay, now we're playing up a man. Barreto can do good defensively, but we're gonna have the ball more on our side, and we need somebody with better feet going forward. And I think that was a perfect sub.
Correct, because you don't want Tino chasing guys, right? And
He doesn't have the
like you
pace.
said, when we're in our own half, he's super capable because he's not chasing guys, right? Everything's in front of him, right? It's much easier for him to do what he does best, opposed to if we're spending most of our time in the offensive third and they break, now he's got to chase. He's not fast, right? And the last thing you want is him chasing someone from behind, because that's just not in his wheelhouse, right? So I agree with what you were saying, but I thought the substitution was good. Bill, I was going to punt this to you so substitution wise, Tomás Araújo comes off. There was all sorts of confusion, by the way. I don't know if you guys were as confused as I was during that substitution, because
I think the players were too, because
I saw Barreto run on, but then I thought it was Leandro at right back, and then I looked and I'm like, all right, Sheldrup came off, and then the play starts going and I see Sheldrup on, I see Kerem on. I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck just happened?
I think even Sheldrup was like confused because he looked like he was pissed that he was coming off, and then he wasn't coming off, and then I was
correct. So
and he might have been coming off until Araújo probably gave a sign that he needed to come off.
Correct, because Araújo went down as soon as they were making the subs, and then you can hear Ricardo Rocha with the fourth official saying 44, change it to 44. But I didn't know who I figured Leandro was coming in to go in that right back.
To go right back.
So when the dust settled, Barreto and Di Maria both ended up coming in. Difference is, instead of Sheldrup coming off, Tomás Araújo came off, and Florentino came off, and Di Maria played that number 10 role. And then Amdouni came on in the 78th minute for Sheldrup. Belotti came in the 78th minute for Pavlidis. And what surprised me a little bit, maybe not you guys, but Artur Cabral came on in the 86th minute when Di Maria got hurt with, he had Nuno Felix, who, fine, I can understand that he's a young kid, hasn't played at this level. And he's got Prestiani on the bench too, which I'm surprised he didn't go to him. But Bill, did any of these subs surprise you? Were you not a fan of any of them?
The only one that had me scratching my head once the dust settled was the Cabral one. That one, like bringing him to play in like that 10 role, essentially like a second striker, that was a bit confusing. But I mean, the only other option at that point is Prestiani, who hasn't really been an option since Elijah's come. But
he's been playing for the B team.
Right, exactly. But for Laj, I mean, Laj hasn't given him any minutes. So I guess it's not too surprising. I actually kind of like the pushing Fred to right back and putting Di Maria up with Kerem and Andreas. Like, we're up a guy, so we can kind of risk it a little bit. Plus, that also gets Di Maria in the game. Doesn't necessarily have to defend as much because he's playing in that 10 role.
Yeah.
So I like the move. I mean, in the end, it didn't really work out because Di Maria got injured. But I think the thought process behind it was it was the smart move, I think. But the only one to me that was the Cabral one, and I mean, given who was on the bench, I can get why he threw Cabral in.
Our buddy Joaquin says the way that Benfica lost that Barcelona game, I'd fire the coach the same night.
Don't take it, Oscar. Don't take the bait. Take the bait, dude. Don't take the bait.
He threw the hook in the water.
He's just waiting for it.
Oscar's like fighting. Oscar's like, damn, that hook looks good.
Joaquin should be happy that the Bruno Lage went to Botafogo, or else he would never win a campeonato.
Mike, I got something because something that we've talked about in the past, and that I noticed in the first half. So Tomás Araújo, right? Do you think we're starting to see a little bit of that Morato effect? Because I thought in that first half, and I don't know if it's him or Kerem, but we could not attack down that side of the field. We kept our best attack was coming from the Carrera side. And I don't know, he just seemed a little, I don't know if it's been lately, but I noticed today he seemed a little off. And again, he could maybe it's an injury thing or not. But are you guys seeing the same thing? I mean, you guys are seeing more of the games than I am.
No,
but
I agree, and I mentioned that in my analysis of the game is I felt like he seemed a bit off today, and then I agree. Like all Monaco's attacks came on his side, right? And I'm not pointing the finger at him, right? Because there was a lot of situations where he ended up with 2v1s because Kerem wasn't closing out wide. Golovin was coming inside a lot on that left side, on their left side, our right side, which was creating a lot of mismatches for him. So I get it. And Monaco played with two guys up top, which typically they don't. They typically play with a 3-back, 5-back system without the ball. So I agree with that, and we talked about it before, right? Like, does he now become the starting right back? And I'm going to pass it to Oscar and Bill to give their thoughts, but I just wanted to add to that, Kenny, which is a month and a half ago, Bruno Lage said our options at right back are Ba and the young kid, Leon Sens. Okay. Fast forward a month, transfer window's closed. Naturally, I agree that, right, we've got the young kid, we've got Ba, right, pre-injury. And then in an emergency situation, we got Tomás Araújo, we've got Auschwitz on an emergency, right? So while we don't have, a recognizable name as a backup for the right back, right, we've got a kid from the youth, which people are always preaching. And then we've got two other players that can play there and have played there in the past if we need to, depending on the situation. My gripe here is you say that a month ago, right? Ba and his backup is Leandro Santos. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but Benfica's youth team played in the youth league yesterday against AZ Alkmaar, and the game was in the Netherlands. Leandro Santos traveled to the Netherlands with the youth team, didn't play for the youth team because the expectation was that he was going to be available for this game, flew to Monaco to be with the team, is on the bench. Fine. Tomás Araújo starts over him, which is normal. But then he sees Tomás Araújo go down, and Auschwitz plays the right back position over him. Again, full disclaimer, I think Auschwitz gives us more of a guarantee in this moment than he does, right? Naturally. He's a young kid. From what I've seen from him on the B team, I actually watched the Vizela Benfica B game on Friday. He looked super green to me. But to your point, Kenny, for him, right, when you hear the coach say this a month ago and then you see this happen a month later, how does that also put you in a mental state outside of the Tomás Araújo situation, but also for the kid that supposedly was the backup? And with that, I'll pass it to Oscar, and then Bill, you can chime in as well.
I think I get what you're saying, but I think when coaches talk like that, it's to give guys a boost, like, hey, you are part of this team, play hard. But then you see them throughout every day. You see them playing throughout and you say you just saw a game and you look very green.
Yep.
Which comes to shove, this is a very, very important game. Like,
correct.
We're winning 1-0 away. If we suffer a goal, it could throw everything down the freaking drain. So a kid that's green, I, in his position, would not trust it either. I mean, maybe if Pavlidis had put those goals away and we're winning 2-0, 3-0, I guarantee you probably his choices would have been different, and he would have given the kid a shot so he can get momentum. But 1-0 is still very risky to take that much of a risk. I see his point. I understand where you're coming from, saying, hey, listen, you are my backup. But in this situation, I probably would have pulled the same strings. I would have done the same thing.
No, I would. And before I go to Bill, like I said, I would have done that same move 100 out of 100 times in the situation, the context of the game. I don't think there's any debate. But again, it raises an interesting question. And Bill, I'll pass it to you. Are we going to now, especially with the Ba injury at the weekend, is Tomás Araújo now our starting right back going forward? And what does that do? Like Kenny said, is it now take into a Morato effect where you're burning a center back at right back, which creates different dynamics, right? It's a different approach. You're doing a lot more running up and down the wing. You're also potentially impacting our offensive game, right? Because he's not a north to south guy. He's got good feet. He can play a long ball. I think he's the one that actually makes the assist today to Pavlidis. but he's just naturally not that profile. He just like Morato. He's faster than Morato. He's really fast.
He's better.
Super
He's a
quick.
he's a
He's
better
better on the ball.
he's a better athlete. He's a better prospect than Morato was.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Like, and Morato, I thought was a decent prospect, but I think moving him to, playing him in that position completely killed his form, his just the
Confidence.
ability of him, his confidence, and even his ability to, when he did step at center back, he was not himself again, right? So I think Tommaso Ruggi was a better prospect, and I just don't want us to burn him out, kill his game, and then when we, if Otamendi moves on next year and we need to play with the two kids in the back, that Tommaso Ruggi isn't the same player that he could be.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I mean,
sorry,
you do run that risk. I think with Toumaj, I think he's a lot better on the ball than Morato, and I think when you're playing out wide like that, right, you have to be better with your decision making. You can't really give up like transitional passes and lose the ball easily. And I think with Toumaj, I think that's like one of his strong suits with the ball, right? Like ball at his foot, he's very good coming out of the back. And his pace helps, right? Like he can make up. I think we saw it today. There was one where he like lunged in, missed the guy, and then somehow made the 2 or 3 yards up, gave up a corner, but I mean, he made the space up.
And he had one in like the 90th minute where the guy was ahead of him and he still managed to get to the ball before him, and he saw it out, and we ended up getting a goal kick.
Yeah, like I think that's his saving grace, where like, yes, he can. Is that Pitorro?
Is that Fernando?
Oh no.
We've got a streaker. What were you saying, Bill?
Essa é a coisa do Benfica. É vinho branco. Boa noite.
That's great.
Anything else you want to add, Bill?
Did he just
I don't even know where it was.
I just wanted to read a comment. John Ramos 82 on our Instagram says, and I'll ask Kenny this one: winning 1-0 away, why bring on Di Maria? Against 10 maybe, but he's coming off an injury. Why risk it? Let him come back with some minutes for the Campeonato. Do you agree with that, Kenny?
I mean, I didn't think it probably wasn't the right time to. That's what I was laughing at. thought you had a Mexican behind you. Sorry, I don't even remember. Was it worth bringing in Di Maria? Was that the question?
Yeah, up 1-0.
Up 1-0. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, knowing, I mean, you got to take what the clinical team is giving you, right? Like if they say he's full bill of health, and I think I heard too that Lage had asked Di Maria like if he was ready to go.
Yeah, if he needed to warm up a little bit more, and he said he was ready.
So I mean, you want to keep. I mean, it's tough to say. Like you want to keep Di Maria like fresh, and you want to put him into the game. And if he's ready to go, he's ready to go. Maybe it wasn't the right call, but it's hindsight. Knowing what you know now, yeah, you wouldn't have put him in. But I mean, you were also chasing that second goal to close it out, and who better than Di Maria to put in there to do it, right? So
I mean, I think we all talked about this even before the game started when we talked about the lineups. We talked, Di Maria will be better coming off the bench to kind of help to fresh fresh legs and all that. And if like Kenny said, if the medical team says he's cleared to play, who is Bruno Lage? He's not a doctor.
Correct.
He doesn't
he's working with the information they give him.
So he was hurt last game and whatnot. So the doctor says he's good to play. He comes in the last 20 minutes to get him going to get him back into the system. Like, what's wrong with that? I don't think you should put anything on Lage about this.
No, I don't agree with that.
I agree.
Like, again,
I agree.
He's going off of the information that his team and the club are giving him. And then I would assume that if Di Maria didn't feel 100% confident or comfortable, that he would also say something. And Bruno Lage also gets to see him in warm-ups, in practice, right? So if there's anything that stood out, you would naturally assume, like, why are you going to risk that when you've got other players on the bench? So I don't think there's anything to point the finger at Lage here. And I agree. I think with the situation now, if he had put him out wide, then I would maybe ask.
Or if he started him, we could criticize him today.
But I think the fact that he put him, I think the fact that he put him in that position specifically, I think, was also a way to protect him. And again, like he didn't even get hurt on a sprint. He literally like stepped between two players, and as soon as he put his foot down, he grabbed his leg. So I don't think there's anything that we can point at Laj in this situation. But again, it's easier in hindsight to say why did we risk him versus if he had pulled off an assist and we scored the second goal, right? It's like,
or
hell
if he
yeah.
scored a golazo in the last 20 minutes. Oh,
Yeah,
Lodge
that'd be a great move.
To put him in.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
So,
we're up a man 1-0. Like you bring him on to.
if there's a situation that you want
give
Dimity to be in, it's that one because he doesn't have to defend.
He's playing against 10 guys. He doesn't have
You're
to
giving
defend.
yourself a better chance to win a
Yeah.
game, like get another goal and give yourself a great opportunity in the second leg.
Yeah, I got no complaints there. One more thing I wanted to touch on to close this one out. It's more a comment. I know that throughout the season we've had our moments of frustrations with Otamendi. I know there was a lot of conversation about his travel to Argentina and stuff like that. I will say that over the course of the last 4 to 5 weeks, he has been an absolute monster in the back. I don't know if you guys paid
every
close attention
header.
Today, he was again an absolute. I mean, the commentator was like, dude, his ability to not just time his jumps, but the height that he gets on his jumps is absolutely incredible. And today he had a bunch of crucial, plays broken up, crosses that he was able to alleviate into the box, just commanding the back, aerial duels, his anticipation, timing is all right. Over the course of the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've had moments where we didn't have good results. I believe it was against Casapia. He came out and spoke after the match, and as the leader, he spoke in the flash interview. There was another game, I can't remember who it was against. Same thing. He came out and spoke on behalf of the group, right? So I think in the past, there's been situations. He scored this weekend against Moreirense. There's been situations where we've been critical of him, not just him, of the leadership of the team. And I think on the other side of the coin, I think we need to take the opportunities in these moments also to be able to applaud and say, listen, like, he's been fucking incredible for the last 4 or 5 weeks. And I think it's, we need to put our hand up and say, listen, while we can criticize, we can also stand here and say the other side of it and say that he's been fantastic. So I just wanted to add that here before we close this out. I don't know if you guys have anything else you wanted to add in regards to
Great call out.
No, I think there was a phase where Otamendi, especially in the first half of the season, where like, what the hell? He's making slide tackles that didn't not necessary.
Yeah, we all agreed with it.
Mental. It was like mental lapses. It wasn't like physical stuff. It was just mentally checked out.
Bad judgments. I'm like, what's going on with Otamendi? Is this checked out? Because we thought that in January market or in winter the market was coming up and his head was already on Argentina. That's what my thought process was. I'm like, he's already checked out. And that's why he's making these mistakes. And I think since January, and he was not going anywhere. I think Rui Costa, we give shit to Rui Costa all the time. Like, hey, this play is gone. I don't know why you guys keep holding on to them. Like, just let him go. Yep. Holding on to somebody, then having somebody like Otamendi do what he's doing. We have to give credit to Rui Costa for holding on to this guy, right? Because if he had gone, I think we wouldn't even be competing like we are right now.
Yeah, and especially with the injuries. I mean, obviously the January transfer window would have probably been different. But again, like guys like that are hard to replace. Not like the skill part, right? The skill part you can find. The leadership part, I think, like it's hard. World champion, has won it all, right? Like, what more can motivate these guys?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
yeah.
So I think it was important for us to call that out because I think he's been criticized very often, and I think a lot of people refrain from applauding him in the moments that he deserves them, but are quick to criticize him at any opportunity that they can. Pedro says, Ota is a beast. He's still our best center back. Ota didn't have an off season. Araujo is good, but still has a lot to learn. Again, and I said this in the past. He hasn't had an off season, a proper off season in years.
He went to the Olympics or whatever it was.
He went to the Olympics.
You have to blame him. He go to the Olympics. He's the one who has to go to the Olympics.
Correct.
I mean,
completely.
He takes some of that, but
he takes some of the blame. But again, like the amount of games that he's played, not just the Olympics. I mean, even the years past, World Cups, Copa Americas, right? Like all of that weighs on you, and especially at his age. Again, Vespa says we can't let it go. There's no captain to replace him yet. Antonio's in the making. I don't know if Antonio. I mean, captain. Every leader leads in a different way, right? Otamendi's got that South American flair that is hard to reproduce. But again, there's silent captains, there's more exuberant captains, right? So comparing them, I think, would be unjust. But there's no doubt that Otamendi is definitely a leader within that squad. To finish off, Oscar, I'll start with you. Who was your MVP?
I already said it. I think. I mean, you had a good call. But Otamendi had a good game. Pavlidis had a good game. But to me, I think from what he's done in these last 2 games, Florentino to me deserves MVP. And I think, I mean, according to my app that I watch, he got the most points. So I'm not sure what you have.
Yeah, goal score gave him the highest rating. I think it was a 6.7, if I'm not mistaken.
Did he win the MVP on the field?
No, Pavlidis
No,
won
Pavlidis.
it, but naturally because he
I
got
don't
the
get how
winning goal.
UEFA works.
It's the goal.
Yeah, it's because of the
The
goal.
game-winning
He scored the
goal.
game-winning goal.
World class.
It's an easy pick, right? 1-0 game, he scored the winning goal.
Now look at the whole stats, not only just who scores a goal.
But if I'm not mistaken, he's been man of the match the last 4 games for Benfica.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has.
I saw it on Twitter. Yeah.
I mean, he had a good game. I think one play that he laid somebody down on and he passed it to.
It was the one that he gave to Carreras instead of putting. He's a left footer.
Carreras
Instead of
came
hitting it
in
one time, he comes back to his right foot. What the hell?
I
Are you
understand,
thinking?
It's a good cut though.
Obviously, the defender's gonna slide. I understand the play and he just slot it into the.
But I feel like if he hits that, if it gets by the defender, it's in. The goalie's not going to be able to react.
I forget what game it was. He scored a goal like that already this season where he cut in onto his right.
Against Porto, and then it was off the defender.
Yeah.
Bill, who's your man of the match?
I agree with Oscar. I think Tino was, especially that first half. I mean, it stands out more in that first half just because of how the game was going. But he was just an animal. And I'm not the biggest Tino fan, and I've said it plenty of times, but I think his work defensively is outrageous, and I think today was one of those performances that kind of make you look and go, damn, all right, if we can get just a little bit going forward, then he's an animal. But I think defensively today was on a different level.
Kenny, from what you were able to see, what would you?
The Grego. I mean, yeah, I don't think we've seen a goal like that from Benfica in a while. So it was a class finish, and the whole play itself, right? Like to get that keep that defender off of him.
Yeah, he did well to body him.
Kenny obviously didn't watch Estrela da Amadora against Benfica. Cabral,
I don't even know what you're talking about. But yeah, the Greek.
I'm gonna go with. I thought Tino again had a good game. I would give it to Otamendi. If Tino had played the whole game, I would give it to Tino. Not to take away from what he did in the 67 minutes that he played, or 68 minutes, whatever it was. But if he had played the whole game, I'd give it to him. But I would say Otamendi for me was the man of the match overall. I will say one Tino play that stood out to me, apart from the one-on-one that he had in the second half, that he beat the guy, was he had a play with Al-Musrati in the first half, where Al-Musrati tries to body him, and Tino just literally wraps his leg around him and fucking just pulls the ball away from him and just comes out playing.
I saw that.
And just lays it off. And I was just like, damn, dude. Al-Musrati's a big dude. The fact that he stonewalled him and basically he's like a football player taking it from the dude's hands and running the other way with it was quite impressive. Moving on with
the thing is, and I agree with Otamendi and having a great game. The only reason why Otamendi to me is because we are playing against 10. We had most of the possession. So defensively wise on the second half, Otamendi and Antonio Silva and all that, they didn't have that much work other than clearing a few crosses, right? No. But I'm talking about in the first half, Otamendi did have a great performance, and Tino I think stood out. That's why it's
fair. Yeah, I think it could have gone to either one. I don't think it would be unfair to either one. I would say most of us would agree that the two of them probably deserved it more than Pavlidis in the context of the whole game, right? Apart from him getting the most, right? The important thing is putting the ball in the net, right? So his interaction was the most important because he gave us the 3 points, right? But in the global of the whole match, right, I would say the other two maybe deserved it more. But regardless, as long as we win, I don't care who the hell you give it to. You can give it to the Ropedo for all I care. It really doesn't make a difference to me. Injuries. I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on this and what the impact is to the team going forward. So January transfer window ends. On the day before the January transfer window closes, Di Maria pulls up with this hamstring injury. We in my opinion, probably felt like a panic buy because of the injury, and we go and get Bruma for $6.5 million. We also already had Manu from Vitoria, and just to our luck, in a matter of 2 minutes, on the same side of the field, Ba tears his knee ligaments, left knee, and I don't even know if it was 2 minutes later. Manu, maybe 10 yards further up the field from where Ba was, he also tears ligaments in his left knee. So same knee, same side of the field, within 2 minutes of each other.
And both out for the season.
And both out for the season, and the transfer window is now closed. So you lose a right back, you lose another option in the midfield that you wouldn't buy for the transfer window. And now potentially Di Maria is potentially a long-term absence as well. Kenny, I'll start with you here. How do you think this impacts the rest of Benfica season, right? Because in the midfield, you've got Kokshu, you got Auschnis, you got Barreiro, and you've got Tino, right? 4 players for 3 positions, right? On the wings, you've got Sheldrup and Akhturkoglu that played today. You've got Pristiani on the bench. You've got Amdouni that can play wide. Am I missing anyone else in terms of like the A team? You've obviously got João Regu that can play there.
Bruma, right?
Bruma is the other one, right? So you've got a few different options.
I hate that we didn't start sign up Bruma for the Champions League now.
Isn't he? I had seen something that he has like a suspended.
You suspended for 2 games. So that means both Monaco games you would have been out.
Correct. Right. And the thing that I didn't realize is because he's not registered, the suspension doesn't clear.
So he has to pay him somehow.
So the only time that he's going to be able to clear these is basically next year's Champions League when we register him.
Yeah.
And then in the back, we just touched on, right back. Now we've got Tomás Araújo, Auschnis, Leandro Santos. But how do you think overall these injuries impact us? And do you think it creates I don't want to say desperation, but a significant need for Bruno Lage to potentially find some youth players to fill these gaps?
Yeah, I think when it's all said and done, there's gonna be someone from the youth that has to, between now and the end of the season, that'll get some significant playing time, and hopefully stand out. So it's gonna be a tough battle, but like it's the next man up mentality, right? Like you've got to play the games and you've got to put players out there. So I don't think these will be the last injuries too that we'll see. I think there'll be more throughout.
Dude, don't put that out in the air. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, you jinx.
Saying those things out loud in the universe.
Juju.
Listen. It's the reality of it, and so I think I think some of this. And look, we've all talked about the youth, right? So for everyone that's calling out on the youth, when the kids start playing, and if hopefully things shake out the way we want it to, but you're going to see a reality of like sometimes it takes time. You can't just throw these kids in there, but they're going to have to step up for sure.
Hey, so one thing I got to say is some of our best players have come to light after somebody got hurt. So you talked about João Felix came in when we needed somebody to play behind Seferovic, right? We got Ruben Dias and Ferro, even though Ferro's a flop for that year. He came out of when he was injured. João Antonio Silva, another one, came out when we had injuries, then he had to play, and now he's a starter. So like we have to think of like, hey, maybe it might be sucking right now because we don't know these players, but give him a chance and watch what could happen. Porto has the left back and the right back, I believe, for Porto are 2 19-year-olds, whatever it is, 17-year-old, and whatever.
We got João Mario and
but when João Mario came
Moura.
When João Mario came, he was like 17, 18, and he started playing right back, and he took that position. Now that Moura guy on the left side, same thing. He's a fucking 18-year-old kid that's grabbed that position. Sporting's always played with some young guys in the right back and left back. So you have to give him a chance, and I get it. I get why he didn't do it today because it was the crucial game, and maybe the kid was nervous. I don't know, but I think we at home on one of these coming up, we have to give these kids chances and see how they pan out.
Do you think who did we let go too? Like obviously Rollheiser.
Rollheiser just left. Mate, who's on the B team, just left. Best went
Best.
left back.
But best we got a replacement, the Dahl guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dahl can play right and left back. Also,
Right.
he's naturally a left back, but he can play on the right as well.
So is Dahl from the youth team or is he?
No, he
No, he's
came on loan from Roma.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
I think
about
he's
what?
19, right?
He's like 19.
Yeah, he's young.
What about Renato Sanchez? What happened? What's his deal?
He's late
Who's that
February.
guy?
Yeah, no,
Kang?
Like
another,
McGregor. Who the
Kang?
fuck is that guy?
another thing we're not thinking about is, according to the news and whatever, Goveda is supposed to be coming back at mid-February.
Well, he had a setback
He had a setback. All right, fuck.
apparently, but they haven't released what the set. But I had read that he had some sort of setback.
Renato's supposed to come back also in February. So
I have no trust in Renato coming back.
I get
No
it. but-
Gouveia, I
chance,
do.
Yeah,
Yeah, but-
and Gouveia was playing well when he went out too.
Correct. He was our starter.
Correct, and he
Yeah,
scored some big goals for us.
Yeah.
Earlier on
So-
in the season.
So if Goveda does, I don't know what his situation is, but I know the news say he was supposed to be back in February. So if he does come back, if he did come back in February, that would have been a huge help for the wing.
Yeah, I agree. Funny, Pedro says I forgot about Sanchez. So did I.
Yeah, I mean the guy's always hurt. I
mean,
thought we would have walked away from him too, but
yeah, there was rumors that they were gonna terminate the
Terminate.
deal, but
Yeah.
I have a feeling that there's some sort of fine print in the agreement that says Benfica is going to buy him after the end of the season, which worries me because, listen, if he's fit, he's very good. But the question is, like, if bold and capital letters, like he cannot stay healthy, and it's just brutal. Bill, anything that you would add in terms of the impact here?
No, I think someone made a comment saying like the Manu injury is more like it hurts more than the Ba injury. I don't agree. I think like for Manu's position, we have Tino, we have Barreto can play there, Fred can play. Like we have options in midfield. Whereas wide, you're adapting Tomas to play out wide, to play right back, or you're bringing Fred, adapting him to play right back, or you have to give a kid a shot. I think the Ba injury is one that hurts more. And I agree with what Kenny and Oscar said. Like at some point, he's going to have to give these youth guys a shot. Like we can't, with the amount of games we're playing every 3 days, plus the Taça de Portugal, like we can't go into it with the same 12, 13 guys. Like you're going to burn the team out and you're going to end up blowing the season because right now we're still alive and everything. So
You guys, you guys remember the Jorge Jesus season where we played with we didn't have many subs, and then it came to the end of the season, and then we lost it all in the
Everyone was
last
dead.
5 games.
Yep.
And Cardozo wanted to fight him after the Taça de Portugal.
all the shove.
Oh, that's right. Was that year?
Yeah,
That was the year that we lost.
was that
We
year?
lost the
We
Taça de
lost
Portugal
that
against
year.
Vitoria
Fucking hell.
with Rui Vitoria as the coach.
yeah.
Is it
Yep.
just me, and maybe this is a dumb like observation of mine? I haven't followed the team or this season as closely as I wanted to, but it just seems like a huge transformation, overhaul of the squad. Is it just like, do you guys see it the same way? Like there's a lot of new names, a lot of like unknowns on this team, in my opinion.
I mean, this season we've had a couple of guys. I mean, we had a couple of moving pieces at the beginning, right? Pavlidis is new, Amdouni is new. All right, not to mention the guys that came in the summer. Kerem was new. So I mean, I think there's.
Cristiani is new. Rollheiser was new.
I mean, but they were. I mean, Rollheiser was there last year. We brought him. Right, he came early. Oh no, did he come this year? No, it was last year.
Cristiano was last year.
Yeah, we paid an extra $1 million to get him early.
Cristiani and Rollizer.
So Rollheiser we only were able to announce in January because of his age.
Yeah.
But I think also this transfer window, I thought we saw some new faces that maybe are Lage trying to kind of put his stamp on this team, right? Naturally, he came into a team that, again, isn't his. And while you typically don't see, especially clubs like Benfica, you don't see them, flipping the roster upside down like a Manchester City that goes and spends 200 million in January. Right? Clubs like Benfica don't have the luxury to be able to do that. So I thought the moves that he made in this transfer window were to put a little bit of Bruno Lage spice on this team to make it a little bit more of what he's looking for, right? Which then ends up being Rollheiser leaving because whether he didn't fit his system or he didn't fit the mold or he didn't get along, I don't know what the case may be. But I agree. I think in terms of like names, right? You've got, apart from Pavlidis, who had been leading scorer in the Dutch league, you do obviously have some names here, right? The Dals. I mean, Belotti was a big name at Torino. He hasn't been as impactful since he left Torino, but right, the Prestianis, the Rollheisers, the Aktürkoğlu, right, like was a complete unknown. So I can agree with the sense of like names wise, right? It's a little bit of a culture shock, especially for people like Oscar that can't pronounce these foreign names. He needs like Manuels and Joaos and Antonios to keep it simple.
Yeah, why not keep it to Regus? I like the Regus and stuff like that.
Costas do Regu, Costas. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting observation. But yeah, I feel like because of the way the transfer market and the money that's in this game now more and more, I feel like it's going to have to be those situations. Like you're going to have to go and find or hope that you find the diamond in the rough that no one else, like even Trubin, right, was like a name that came out of nowhere. Right. The times of finding those maybe more known names and coming to Portugal to take that stepping stone to the next career path, I feel like you're going to be less and less because there's just, there's too many big clubs that are just, Manchester City has like 50 players on loan through all of their, satellite clubs, right, that they can just go poach and grab and move here, move there. Right, Benfica doesn't have the luxury to be able to do that. So I think it's going to be a little bit harder, but I don't know if Oscar or Bill have any other comments on that.
I mean, I feel like it's the norm at Benfica, the revolving door of players, and it
hasn't been as bad lately, but it was bad 10 years ago.
But it's just what we're used to, right? Like even if you do find that diamond in the rough, you get 1, maybe 2 seasons out of them, and then they're gone. Like it's just the way it works.
Yeah. It's like the one thing is like I keep going back to like the years of the PZ, Rafa, like those guys you knew they were going to be there for a while. Like I look in like the Otamendi's, it's even tough to say on this team, right? But like I feel like looking at this team, like who do you see that's going to stick around for a while? I feel like it is more of a revolving door. Like we don't have those stalwarts. Like let's face it, Otamendi's, on the back end of his career.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe Koksu's been here a couple of years. I don't think he's a great player.
The only player that's really good that might stay longer is Freddie Arsenis.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I think he might be the only one, and I don't know why people are not looking for him or trying to get him maybe because he's bald and he looks old. I don't know.
Whatever.
It could be. I don't know, but it doesn't make any sense to me how people are not big clubs are not coming after him because it just doesn't make sense.
I'm not mad about
it. Other than that, I mean, Antonio Silva's almost out the door. Araújo is being hyped
in due time. Yeah.
So I don't see anybody else. Like Carreras has a buying clause, so United might get him back. Whatever, it might happen. So I don't know. And then we have Aktürkoğlu, which I thought was the best signing we had, and he's becoming overrated very quickly.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how much impact he had in his first 10 games, and how he's just quickly dropped off. I don't know if that was just, and I would like to believe, and here's me going back to, the whole situation with Roger of like what he gave us, I don't feel like was just coincidence, right? Like I feel like there was something there, and I feel like with Kerem, like what he gave us in those first 12 games, I don't feel like it just happened to be a coincidence, right? Like there's clearly quality in there. It's just what happened for this sudden dip, right? Like it's not even
that little kid started crying on national TV, and then
Maybe we got to get
Yeah.
the jersey
Send
back
him-
to break the curse.
Get it back, dude. We sent him a jersey. That was it.
I think the problem is with the players like Artukoğlu is that they don't have the Tino mentality. Tino can lose his spot today and come back and play exact the same way the next game when he gets his spot back. Sheldrup came in and took Artukoğlu's spot, and I think mine fucked him a little bit in a way because he came back and he was like never the same player, and then he looks like he's not as happy.
Yeah, but he
looks like
had
he's sad
dropped
on
in
the field.
form. Like he
Yeah, and he had
huge
played
dip in
still.
form by that time.
And he was still playing. But I think
Yeah.
again, like
And
I
then,
feel like
and then I think Kenny said something about Araújo not being the same, and I think Araújo not being the same has to do with Karim being on that side. I
It
really
could be.
do think so because
Yeah.
when he plays with Di Maria on that side, and Di Maria doesn't help him defend as much, but I think Di Maria helps him defend more than Karim does. You guys can look at the stats. Look at the stats. I think Di Maria comes back and helps Araújo more than Karim does.
what I think the big difference here is I don't think it's the defensive element. I think it's the coming out element. And what I'm saying is when we come out of the back, right, when we go from a defensive to offensive transition, Di Maria has better control with the ball, better decision making. Kerem has lost so many balls in transition. When he comes out of that first phase, he gives it up cheaply, consistently. And what happens after that? The team's in a defensive to offensive transition. You lose that ball in transition, and now you got to go back to get that back, right? And which I think creates that problem
pressure.
for us. So I feel like that makes it more visible.
It makes Araújo double think his runs.
Correct. So I don't think I don't think Di Maria helps him defend more. I think Di Maria gives him more assurance
Transition.
with the ball that Araújo can maybe take a little bit more of a chance to know if I give him that ball in a difficult spot, he's not going to give it away as cheaply, right? Whereas Kerem, on the other hand,
yeah,
whether we've seen, I mean, we saw it again today, a number of times where he's got time on the ball and he either goes one-on-one and loses it or plays a short pass, right? And now the team's got to backpedal and go back, right? So I think that, for me, that's the biggest element, in my opinion, from what I can see, more so than the Di Maria helps him defend more than the other. But again, that's just from what I'm seeing. But I think both are valid points. Before we close out, I just wanted to jump to our next two games. So we've got Santa Clara away this weekend, and then we've got Monaco next weekend on Tuesday for the second leg. And Kenny, dare I say it, this is one of those games that, what do you like to call them?
Trap game?
Trap games. Do you think this could be a trap game?
I mean, potentially. I hope not. I mean,
we can't afford any more trap games.
Doing well in the league.
We know these games. So it's at Santa Clara. Yeah, these games at
Santa
the
Clara's
islands.
not doing bad.
Yeah, they've got this
fifth. They're doing pretty good.
The games in the islands, like for whatever reason, they're just they're difficult, right? So hopefully, I don't want to. I've done a lot of pessimistic thoughts on this
potential
podcast
jinxing
today.
already.
Yeah,
he's becoming too close to Oscar at this point.
Listen, I think we might have turned a page here. I think we've got good momentum. I feel like we're playing better. You just got to keep going. I mean, this is, we're past that lull in the season. This is like time to grind and finish it off. So hopefully, no concern, and we pull off another win.
All right, I hope you're right, Oscar. How are you feeling?
And my friend DJ, no, Charles Hoop scored that goal against us, and then he scored a goal last, so the game after that against Ferenc. So 2.
Oh yeah, fair. But I agree in the sense that I feel like he's also lost a little bit of impact from those first few games.
Yes, but like Kenny said it earlier, all that attacks come from Carreras and that side in him.
Correct.
So so the pass today to Pavlidis, they missed the inside the 6.
Correct.
With him.
Yep.
He's creating more than Karim is doing on the other side.
100%.
I think Sheldrup is good like one-on-one, where Karim is more like I think he's got a better knack for goal. Like I don't think he's good one-on-one, but I think he's good in front of net.
Correct. And he got himself
a goal in like 3-4 months.
But today, if he's in form, he had a couple balls over the top today that if he's in form and brings those balls down, I think he scores 1 or 2. Like he had a couple at the edge of the box where he just wasn't able to bring them down. But I agree with Kenny. I think but he has more experience, right? He's an older player, but I think he has more of an understanding of how to take advantage of that space in behind the opposing team, and can get to those spaces better. Whereas Sheldrup is more trickier, right? He's better 1v1.
Do you think
wing.
do you guys think the starters on the wings is going to be Bruma and Sheldrup, or it's going to be Karim starting there with Di Maria out?
It's a good question. I think
Kadem.
against Santa Clara, with off the back of a Champions League game, I think Bruma comes straight into the 11. Now, who he comes in for, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
How
I think Bruma starts.
I don't watch.
Bruma is now like our second leading scorer.
So he's in good form then, huh?
Dude,
I'd like to see more of him.
Yeah, me too.
The purchase itself, like for that amount of money, is not a bad deal at all.
Pretty good deal. Yeah.
Yeah, for $6.5 million, but I get paid
$6.5
million for him. For a player that, right, we talk about all the time, and we haven't been here since the transfer window. But we talk about take advantage of the internal market, players that are adapted to the league, plug and play, right? You got a good price for a player who's got experience. He's 30 years old. He's not that old. He's played at Braga. He played at Leipzig, right? But this is, I would argue, the biggest club he's been at, right? Leipzig's only been around for about 12 years or 15 years as a club, right? So, I mean, this is probably the biggest stage he's been on, right? And if there's an opportunity for a guy like him to kind of reignite himself, I feel like this is the perfect scenario.
Now, do you think he's a Cancelo in a way, attitude-wise? Because he does bounce around a lot. He was in Turkey. He was in Germany. He's now in Braga, and he's not going for a lot of money. He's going for cheap money. So something is going on in the locker room that we don't know about.
Locker room guy?
That's possible. And there's been rumors. There's been rumors of that, right? But you would hope that
Cancelo is an amazing player too, but he keeps bouncing around because something in the locker room doesn't fit.
And this will be, time will tell, right? Like this, again, he's been put into a context that he's never experienced before, in my opinion, right? And there's rumors that Bruno Lage had a phone call with Carvalhal, a guy that he's very good friends with. He was his assistant coach at Sheffield Wednesday when he was in the Premier League at Swansea. So this is a guy that he's very close with, and he had a phone call with him apparently and asked him, like, how is he in training? How is he in the locker room? And Carvalhal apparently spoke highly of him. I wouldn't expect him to say anything negative, but then again, like, there's friendship and there's professional aspect. So, again, we're not in the locker room, right? We don't know what's going on. We can only go off of what we're saying, but you've got a valid point, right? Like, he's bounced around. He's had a couple of moments. Our hope is that if there's a place that he could fix that, it's here. But again, only time's going to tell. But for the price, I feel like it's low risk, high reward, in my opinion. Yeah. Just quickly, I want to touch on some of these comments before I get Oscar's opinion of these next couple of games. SLBS says, I feel like Silva and Florentino Ashes will be around for a little while longer. Jeremy,
Florentino's another one. It might be around.
Jeremy is no stutter clock. This is real him, not that first week. Oh yeah, auto correct. Was it me or the pitch soaked players were slipping all over? Carreras for one slipped while going for a shot outside the box. I think it was Kokshu that slipped in the second half outside the box. Carreras got his shot off pretty well. I didn't notice the field was wet or slippery in any way. Dave says, who's a Braga fan, that Bruma doesn't defend. Fair. He doesn't defend. I think Kenny actually had sent us a message the day that we signed him about his defensive duties. But Bruma is one of those guys, right? Like I look at Bruma a lot similar to what Rafa gave us, right? Like, you want him with his speed and his capability to go at defenders and his trickery. Like, I want him in our offensive half, right? If we can make the team work where we're organized, we're consistent off the ball. And if you want a guy to be your outlet, he's that guy, right? I don't want Bruma defending at the edge of our box unless we're playing in a situation where we have to be doing that. But more often than not, I want him in the offensive third as an outlet, attacking the space in behind. I get it. He's not
but Mike, let me just to interrupt a little bit. Like, last game when he came in against Moreirense, I even called it out. I'm like, this kid just came in and he's fucking pacing around. He's not running with this speed. I mean, when Rafa's on the game, Rafa pressured high, and he was running after those
Yep.
the back line just to get some pressure on him. Bruno was just pacing around like he's Messi, and that annoyed me for somebody that just came into the club and came in like within 10 minutes of the game. He's pacing around. The guy's just passing the ball around him. That annoyed me.
And that's fair, right? It's his first game. Again, we don't know if that's orders from the manager
To
as
pace
well.
around.
Not to pace around, but in like the sense of like hype. I mean, he could have also had an assist in his first match if Barreiro didn't fuck that up. I mean, all he has to do is
right.
tuck it away.
But then we got on our back feet. We're winning 3-2, and he's pacing around. That I mean, to me that annoyed me. That's like you think you're like almost like João Felix does when he in Chelsea or when he did in Atletico Madrid. He thought he was a prima donna, like he could have done that already without proving himself.
Fair. SLBS says Tomas is injured. I just read on the ball and code. I didn't see anything up here.
I'm legit scrolling Twitter right now looking for something. I don't see anything yet.
Yeah, I mean, again, he said after the match that he just felt something, but it wasn't anything major, and he expected to be ready to play on Saturday. That was from his mouth after the game. I don't see anything new in regards to it. Hopefully that's the case. But again, time will tell. Se joga Manel, joga Maria, like George used to say. I think he used different names, but you get it. Oscar, quickly, how are you feeling for these next two games? Mostly Santa Clara off the back of a Champions League game.
I mean, Santa Clara is very tricky, especially away. It's one team for some reason I see Porto tying them like recently, and it's away game in a sort of like it just like doesn't feel like it's a sure win. So we have to kind of play very, very with cautious and get the win. And then Monaco at home, we just have to play with the result we got today and not play the defense. Like, let's get a goal early and hopefully, I think, in my honest opinion, I think we get 2 wins, but not easy wins whatsoever.
So the last 5 games Benfica's gone to the Azores, they've won 4 of 5. They won the last one 3-0, 5-0. They tied 1-1, 1-2-1, and 1-2-0. And then prior to that, official games, we won 2 of 3. So of the last 8 games, official matches in the league, in the Azores, we've won 6 of 8. So, and again, typically these, apart from 3-0 last year and 5-0 the previous year, the previous ones have been 2-1, 2-0, 2-1.
Yeah.
So typically,
and it's 2 flights within 3 days.
Correct. We're going home from Monaco, then we're getting on a plane to go to the Azores.
Right. So a lot of times, like, we fly away for Europe, but then we come home and we just drive on a bus to the next game, right? In this case, it's going to be 2 flights. One to Monaco, which just happened, and then the other one to Azores. So we can't drive there.
And we play Saturday, and then fly back, and then we play Tuesday. Right.
Correct.
So again, there's a small window of recovery
Quick turnaround.
And Vespa makes a good point. It's the best Santa Clara ever. I mean, they're flying right now. In terms of domestic play, they are 5th, if I'm not mistaken, in the league.
Yeah.
5th with 38
12.
points. They've only won 2 of their last 5. They've drawn 2, won 2, and lost 1. But they've already gone to Sporting and created some problems. I can't remember how they did against Porto. I don't know if they've
tied
them.
Porto.
They tied them
in the 2-2, and then
2 or
the
3
first
games
leg,
ago.
I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah.
With a man down.
Yeah, so they're a tricky team. They're doing well, and off the back of a Champions League. Yes, Benfica smashed them at home, but that was Laj's first game, and we were losing 60 seconds into the game. That was again, rewind the clock. Otamendi, a disaster class.
They beat Sporting in Alvalade.
That was for the Taça.
No, that was for the league.
That was for the Campeonato. That was with João Pereira, and then they lost in the Taça in penalty.
Sporting beat them on the Taça on extra time.
Yeah. They scored in the last minute to take it overtime.
Yeah.
But that was also João Pereira days. So I don't know how much we want to read into that. But regardless.
They just got annihilated by Dortmund at home. So let's not João Pereira. Maybe João Pereira number 2.
Yeah. So take it with a grain of salt. Bill, how are you feeling for these 2 games?
confident, but the Santa Clara match has all like the hallmarks of a trap game, like Kenny would say, like coming off of a good European victory, having to travel, like Oscar said, come back to Lisbon 2 days later, travel at the Madeira. Like it has the recipe for a trap game, but I think that after tonight, the team played well. I think with the lead going into the second leg, I think they're pretty focused. At this point, you can't really have mental slip-ups, and I think we have to be focused from the start, and it can't be just like a first half performance, and it's got to be a full game. And I think Laj has to. The tricky part is he's going to have to find somewhere to rotate a little bit and give some rest because of these back to like having 2 days in between games. Like you're going to have to give guys rest somewhere, and I think that's where it's going to get a little tricky. You're going to have to find the moments and pick and choose who's going to get the rest and when.
That's the key right there. I think Laj he's got to put a good plan in place. Figure that out. It's gonna be a Laj game.
Kenny, do you think
that guy behind Oscar?
I'll ask you both. I'll ask all of you guys quickly. Do you think the fact that Tino can't play against Monaco, does he start this game, or does he use it as an opportunity for Barreiro to get some momentum?
No, you're still chasing in the league. You got to play Tino.
Yeah, and not only that, guys. Why would he risk playing Barreiro and risk an injury, and then we're fucked against Monaco?
Fair.
Yeah. Tino can't play against Monaco, so let him play 90.
Yeah, let him play now. At least get some get our game because Santa Clara away. It might be one of those tricky games that we need to be on our back feet and defend well, and then get into once we get into the game, maybe in the second half, bring in some guys that can move the ball forward, just like today.
Yeah.
And get some results.
We cannot have another throw in Cabral type of game and like lose points. We can't do that.
No. If there's one guarantee on the team sheet, probably these has to be in the front. Let's not fucking pull them out of the lineup again.
I mean, I would. I mean, what's the name of the Italian guy?
Bellotti.
I don't think I'll be shocked to see Bellotti.
Dude, he's an absolute tank.
Did you see? I saw Did you see when they clashed heads?
Dude, he is an absolute specimen, dude.
He presses too, which is very like good to see.
Yeah, he's mobile.
And if you notice him, at least the last game, not so much today, but last game when he came in, telling the guys to come forward, to push up. He was running after like the whole fucking back line, and the guys are just kind of being hesitant to come forward. He's like pushing them forward. Come, press, which is good.
It's impressive to see his frame. I mean, he looks like a freaking football player. I mean, he's a big dude. Yeah. You don't realize it until you actually like stop and look, and you're like, holy shit, dude, he is massive. So that wraps us up here, just on almost on the 90-minute mark. We will be back next week. Next week Champions League is on Tuesday, so we'll schedule our podcast for Tuesday evening, fresh off the back of that match. Hopefully, it's with making it through to the next round.
You got to put that last comment in there.
What did he say? I'll go to San Miguel and play Champions League him during the match.
No, next one.
No, this one. Yeah,
and ugly. What was
Bellotti.
that reference? Oh, and Bellotti and ugly.
He's a big dude and ugly.
You should go look up Google his wife.
I was about to say his wife's probably.
She is. That's why I've seen pictures.
Oscar's definitely Googling it.
So
he's checking right now.
We'll schedule the podcast for next Tuesday after the Champions League match, second leg, hopefully with a victory. Again, we've got we've got Santa Clara away on Saturday. Another tricky affair. Hopefully, we come away with a W because we don't have much margin for error in this league. 4 points back of the leaders. We need to make sure that we do our job and hope that there's a slip up somewhere in between. For those of you who were in the comments, there were many. Appreciate all your comments, your interactions with us. If you haven't, Oscar didn't take long. If you haven't already, please make sure that you check us out on the various social media platforms, whatever ones you're on. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, Twitch. We're on all of them. If you can give us a like, a follow, share, subscribe, all of the above, that would be greatly appreciated. Gentlemen, as always, a pleasure talking about Benfica, especially off the back of a win. We will be back next week. As always, viva o Sport Lisboa e Benfica. Good evening.
Let's go, boys.